A new, unseen race, updates on the engine, and outsiders being able to play the game next year? Let's get right into it. What's up guys, it's Smith and welcome back to another video. Sorry about the hat, but it's better it stays on. Recently, the Winter 2024 development update just dropped, and with it, while there wasn't a lot of news, the news that is here does show that the team is making steps. And one of those steps is with the new engine, so let's take a look at it. A rustic cottage in a clearing in the woods of Zone 1. Our player opens the door and is greeted to a nice, gorgeous, rustic interior. What you see here are the blocks, little pieces of the game that add up to the game as a whole. Small chunks and pieces that need to be added to prove they work, and once they are proven to work, all the rest of those versions of those systems can be added. For example, stuff we didn't see in the original engine showcase, like animated torches and particle effects, ramps, and sloped roofs with tiles. A whole lot more foliage to test to see if too much foliage affects performance. Stuff like the moss on the tops of rocks and branches in the trees. Stuff that they very clearly didn't show us in the last blog post because it wasn't ready yet, but it is now. And the more of these little minute features they start adding into the new engine, the closer it gets to being finished. For example, if you get all the systems in place required to make a Zone 1 tree, chances are it makes it a lot easier to make all the trees for the rest of the entire map. Same with particle effects, same with sloped roofs and dynamic lighting. Once you add all these little pieces together, you can just expand on them, add the rest of the content that the people have been working on. And the rest of the team hasn't been slouching. While the new engine is in development, the rest of the team, the designers and the artists, have been working on the old engine, sort of iterating the game and making it ready to add to the new one. Hytale has changed a lot. It's probably become a lot more complicated, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to take longer to make. While the new engine has been in the development, people who aren't really engine programmers, such as artists and designers, have been working on the old engine, iterating and expanding new mechanics to make the game better. And once these small little systems are added to the new engine, all the work that has been happening on the old engine can be added to the new one. And that is where you start to get Hytale. This means the version of the game on the old engine is going to be very similar to what it's like on release, but you can't launch it on the old engine because they're obviously making the new one for a reason. And that's what the blocks are, putting these pieces together. So when it's all complete, they can just be widened. They don't need to be extended, just widened. Why did I do that? This means that when Hytale's engine is ready, the design work and the artwork has mostly already been done. It's not in engine, but it's been done. That's also why they haven't been able to show anything to us. All the new stuff, all the new races and the new combat and all the new systems have been on the old engine, which is why they haven't been able to show it to us. It's because it's not reflective of what the game will look like on release. For example, look at this lighting comparison, side by side. Look at the legacy engine and the new engine. You can see with the new engine, the lights are a lot brighter, which actually might change. That might just be how it's implemented right now. Honestly, it's a bit too bright. I don't know. But as you can see on the left, it looks a lot like Minecraft's lighting with smooth shading turned off. Ambient occlusion on the emissive object. What are we doing here, guys? I mean, it's okay. It's in development. Whatever. That's not how light works, but okay. Anyways, guys, before this video continues, I just want to say hi. My name is Iterative. I've been covering Hytale on this channel pretty much since the game was announced. So if you're interested in Hytale, be sure to subscribe and, you know, hit the notification bell if you're a real one. Hello there. Weird funky transition because I forgot to talk about it in the original recording. John Hendricks talks about their plans for the future of Hytale in terms of what they're going to be doing next year. He says he wants to focus 2025 on porting, which is moving stuff from legacy to new engine. He says in the first half of 2025 that he wants to focus on creative and competitive, and in the second half he wants to focus on the adventure mode, which is like the whole game. That's like the whole game right there, and he wants to do that all in 2025, which makes me think that the summer blog post is going to be focused on what they ported in terms of creative and competitive, and the winter blog post is going to be focused on what they ported in adventure modes. They say part of that is the creator outreach program, where they reach out to creators, not just content creators like YouTubers and streamers, but modders and developers. Now, of course, after the porting process is complete, that doesn't mean the game is finished. They still got to test, make sure it all works together, you know, and make sure it's ready for release, which is why I think late 2026. All the work that they've been doing on the old engine up to this point is getting put in the new engine next year. That is our look at the time frame. And part of that involves getting people externally to play Hytale mid next year. Mid 2025, they say. This lines up with things we've heard from people like Pirate Software, who say they were contacted by Hytale. We don't know what about, but we can now assume that it was about this. I honestly don't think they're going to keep it that under lock and key because of how much they love to share. But I think the thing is, the big takeaway from this is that next year they're actually going to have stuff they're going to be able to show us. Next year, they're porting stuff. Summer 2025, they're going to show us what they've ported. It's not going to be, you know, cohesive and all-encompassing. They're just going to show us pieces, and it's probably going to look a bit scuffed, but it's going to be new systems on the new engine is the important thing. We're going to be seeing new stuff, what they've been working on the new engine, and that is really exciting. Anyways, moving on to the look at the new race, the Undead. That's right, those undead creatures rising from the dead. It looks like they're going to have a lot more story and kind of an origin as to their existence. You can see here from this concept art, a dormant skeleton, his eyes start to glow and he wakes up hoisting a sword ready to attack the player. Ha! Yeah, this might actually happen in-game, where instead of the skeletons spawning around the map, just popping in out of existence, they're kind of staying there, lying there dormant, waiting for someone to awaken them from their slumber. This is interesting because the green eyes could mean they're actually controlled by something, controlled by a greater entity, and not just kind of mindless drones attacking everything in sight. They almost look like defenders holding onto something, controlled by a greater being and sort of guards sent off to stop the intruder, basically. And last but not least, we have a look at the new creative system with presets. Now, this was actually at Thankmas, but here we get a nice high-resolution, non-YouTube live stream look at the gameplay they showed off. Anyway, let's take a look at it, shall we? You can see that they go through a list of prefabs here. Now, this is all obviously work in progress. I'm sure the UI will change, but you can see we haven't had a look at what the UI actually looks like in a very long time. But here, obviously, it's work in progress. This is on the new engine. They're implementing these kind of systems that they're adding. They're only going to add them to the new engine. The old engine is done. That's just for prototyping at this point, right? So you can see the UI, like the health bar in the bottom left, looks a lot more rudimentary compared to the health bar we saw in Blogpost, I think, a few years ago at this point. Blogpost showed off a very technically advanced health bar, but this one is very simple. It's just going to be a bar that moves, I'm guessing, and a stamina bar. No hunger in this game, I'm sure. I think we already knew that though. In previous gameplay showcases, eating food actually healed you and didn't pledge hunger or anything, but stamina, I don't like stamina as a mechanic in any game. And you can also take a look at what the creative industry kind of look like. You've got blocks, you've got, I think that's armor, you've got painting. So they did show off a system where you can paint the world different colors. Maybe that's what that is. And the weapon, that might just be different weapons that you can pick up, and maybe armor as well. And the caves, which might be dungeons, so sort of points of interest that you can spawn in, because points of interest are going to be prefabs, and maybe you can just spawn those as prefabs in creative mode. And then the next tab along looks like scripts. You'll be able to import scripts for scripting things straight out of creative, which is nice. You can probably drag and drop onto different mobs and stuff and to do behaviors and stuff like that. And then you've got prefabs, I think, at the end, which is just big structures, I think. In the POI tab, you might have specific things from the adventure mode. In the prefabs tab, you're going to be able to make your own and store them as prefabs to put them everywhere else. So, you know, you're going to be able to scout things a lot easier. It's going to be very nice. But yeah, that's about it for this blog post. It's sort of a new look at creative, a new look at the engine, and a new look at a new race. Kind of looks like a little sprinkling of flavor at the end there. If I had to give a release date prediction right now, I'd say late 2026. Yeah, maybe even later. Probably even later. I remember I said 2025 in my last video, and I'm like, hell no. They're taking their sweet ass time. I do understand if you're angry about the release date being a long way away, but personally I'm like, I've said this in a previous video, but I'll say it again, I haven't existed in a world where Hytale exists, so I don't care. I'll keep existing in this one. I'm doing fine. You know, it'll be nice to live in a world where Hytale does exist, but I don't live in it yet, so at the moment I don't care. Thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like if you like this video, leave a dislike if you dislike it, subscribe if you're new to the channel, tap out. Peace. See ya. I just realised my light's in shot. Like I said, weird and off-kilter transition. That's part of the outro. That's a bonus scene. Bonus scene.